It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Tuesday, Gary, how are you?
Well, I'm really into the important news stories from yesterday, like this question that was asked at the White House press briefing about the President of the United States.
Is there any more information you can give on why he needed the root canal? Like, is he not good at brushing his teeth, or does he need to floss better, or anything else?
Wow, there you go. Is Biden not good at brushing his teeth, or does he need to floss better, or anything? The whole thing from the root canal. You know, it was the interesting story that came out, though, is that the staff was concerned because they said, quote, this is the quote from the source story, he was eating like a baby.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that means. Eating like a baby?
I was thinking, does that mean not a lot, or soft food?
That could mean a number of things. A couple of those that we can't talk about on the air. I don't know what they... Is he using a bottle? Is he drinking milk out of a bottle with a nipple on it? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, so you could talk about it.
Well, that wasn't the one I was going to use. That wasn't the one. That wasn't the one. And don't ask me to tweet it either, because I'm not.
You know, the best thing yesterday, I mean, the one that made me laugh was that Karine Jean-Pierre violated the Hatch Act with when she said the MAGA Republicans remark. So says the government watchdog. According to the Office of Special Counsel, Jean-Pierre committed the violation last year ahead of the 2022 midterm elections when she repeatedly referred to the MAGA Republicans while acting in her role as White House press secretary. Now, the reason this is so hilarious is because there has never been a White House spokesperson that has refused to answer a question saying, I don't want to violate the Hatch Act, when the answer to the question would not be violating the Hatch Act.
Right. It's because, it's behind closed doors. It's, hey, got a new one for you. Just say Hatch Act. Yeah, I can't talk about that because of the Hatch Act. Don't want to violate the Hatch Act. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And then they come back later. Hey, you violated the Hatch Act. Dang it!
Just reading the article here. Jean-Pierre, who frequently cites the Hatch Act, during the daily White House press briefing, to avoid answering questions related to President Biden's re-election campaign or other candidates, made the comments during a briefing on November 2nd of last year.
All right. Fine. Yeah. But they've been using the MAGA thing for a while. We said back then, that's probably a compliment. If you're, I know they mean it for the Republicans on Capitol Hill. Their attempt is politically to tie everybody to Donald Trump because they believe Donald Trump is a burden on them politically. But for his base, you say MAGA, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, the liberals are the only ones that hate the word MAGA. Not everybody uses it. Not everybody is walking around. By the way, I did see lady and her husband walking down my street the other day, walking their dog, and she was wearing a hat, a MAGA hat. That's the first one I've seen in a long time that wasn't on a Fox News clip. And but they think it's they're trashing them, and there is something politically for them to be rallying their side, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I don't think. But well, maybe now she would be the first that prosecuted right? Under the Hatch Act. Wouldn't that be just the perfect ending? She keeps citing it all these months, using it as an excuse not to answer questions.
Well, you basically get the warning, and that's it. I mean, it's there.
Well, but I can fantasize for a minute, can't I?
Yeah.
Come on. Work with me.
So
I mean, of all the people.
So I can see her.
Nobody is.
So they have a trial, and they bring her up, and she just continually takes the fifth. This is really easy for you, isn't it? Oh yeah.
And then at the end of that, they find out, well, no, you actually did talk at one point, so you gave up your Fifth Amendment right. I mean, they didn't. The people back when they were implementing the Hatch Act generations ago didn't say the words Hatch Act as much as she said them. I bet she holds the record.
I would agree with that. Yes.
I bet she holds the record in terms of any one person.
She got a warning letter. Is what she got.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Warning.
Like when I was in junior high school, and we used to get warning cards, which is if you weren't doing good in class. And my brother and I, we knew the warning cards were going to arrive on Christmas Eve. So
you'd get them in the mail.
Get them in the mail.
Wow. Okay.
And so my brother, took the warning cards out of the mailbox.
Yeah.
And I got one and he got one, and we didn't want it to ruin our Christmas holiday, so we burned the warning cards.
Yeah.
So my parents never got them. So they didn't find out. I mean, there was hell to pay when my parents found out about it.
Man, that's real mafia stuff right there, burning them.
When the report cards came, yes, but that was – and I always look back at that as to how, as a kid, I probably was in 7th grade, but you lived for the moment.
Yeah.
Like you went Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
This can't ruin Christmas vacation.
Right.
Now, at the end of January, when the report cards came in, we were screwed. My father find out, we'd have to, and everybody knows how I talk about my father today, but my father in my mind when I was younger was like the father on the Wonder Years, if you remember the Wonder Years. And they would always, from the kid's point of view, he would always be looking up. The camera angle would be looking up, and the father was this incredible, imposing figure. That was my father.
Yeah.
And I tell him that, and we always laugh. I said, you were quite intimidating. Oh, come on. Now it's 97. It's like, you're just like, no, really, you were.
Well, my dad wore a gun, so there was that. And a badge.
And so but it's just interesting how you just looked at it, and it was like a month away would be, it's just interesting how a child thinks.
Yeah.
A month away seemed like it would never come.
Yeah.
Where I can't imagine today saying, well, I'm going to connive this so I can have a good day today and tomorrow, but in a month there's hell to pay. As an adult, you do the opposite. If that thought ever entered, well, I just got to deal with it today and deal with it today and deal with it today and deal with it today, and then I don't have to worry about it. But there was no problem when I was a kid. Even after Christmas vacation was over, it's like, okay, but it's still 3 weeks before there's hell to pay.
Well, and there was this also this fantasy in your mind that the world was going to change, that Christmas would deliver this miraculous change in your life. And on January 1st, everything that happened before that is gone and wiped off the planet. Now, Hunter Biden lives by that rule. But as kids, we found out it doesn't actually work that way.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
By the way, that really does sound gangster. Hey, you tell Paulie to take those warning cards out back and burn them. I don't want to see ashes. I don't want to see nothing.
And I remember it so well. It's interesting the things you remember as a kid, that there was a great joy
of watching them burn.
Of watching them burn.
Well, at least you got that.
I mean, there was like a joy knowing, that when eventually you would get, you would get, disciplined for it. I can't remember what happened, but
I would have said something like, at the end of January, with the report card thing. Well, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't reach out to you, Mom and Dad.
They would have the sign. I mean, I would hate school today with the emails. By the way, open house is next week, and my parents would receive the email.
Text messages, all of it.
Yeah,
I mean, we were so close to our kids' teachers. I mean, really close.
I think my parents and all of my schooling might have gone to one open house.
Yeah. What was weird is the open house became kind of, in our years later as parents, the open house kind of became, it was the one time back then where your parents are going to go and they're going to sit down, they're going to invest, whatever it was, an hour or two, whatever, and they're going to do that meeting, that face-to-face meeting. The open house was just kind of a afterthought when they started texting and emailing and just calling your cell phone after cell phones.
Right.
It was like, no, every day's an open. I mean, I was up at the school. It wasn't.
A great point.
My kids weren't in trouble. It was just communication. One of my kids played sports, and so there was all kind of communications about what was going on, if we were volunteering to pitch in for something that was going on at the school. I mean, it was just constant communication. And that's how we got the school closures, too. We didn't have to wait for the guy on the radio or TV.
Which is why I'm in radio.
Yeah.
As I've told many times, the reason I'm in radio is because there was nothing better as a kid than hearing the guy on the radio say, Kenmore, Town of Tonawanda, schools closed.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing like, and we would wait and wait. We'd get up early in the morning and we'd sit there, and having that one day off was as good as anything you could possibly imagine as an adult. That joy when it was just a one day being off.
Mm-hmm.
And, as like I said, as a kid, I wanted to do anything to avoid work and responsibility.
Right. Well, even at WBAP, after I started there in 96, our flagship station, the morning show, I remember going on for years, even after, they had an established website, except the thought was, well, a lot of people don't have access to web, until the advent of smartphones. So for years it went on that they would go down the list. And so if there was a snow closure or ice, and I mean, if somebody spills a cup of ice from Sonic, we close schools. So they would just go on and have to announce the schools for forever. But back in the day, that's what we waited for. Now, growing up in San Antonio and Del Rio, it happened once. In San Antonio, I think I was in first grade, or it was either preschool or first grade, that they closed the school. We got snow one time. One time. That was it. And we had our toboggans because we lived in
well, now
I was born in Omaha.
Now, even up there, now they close the schools for being cold.
Oh, because to conserve energy, or
no, just
what?
Because it's too cold for kids to. That never happened when we were young. I don't believe they ever closed the schools because it got too cold.
Yeah.
If it gets too cold, they'll actually close the schools.
Yeah. Wow.
Never happened. Now, I am thinking about weather today because I don't believe there was much damage to my house last night. Small, major thunderstorm, but a very small one.
Yeah.
And I was following it from 100 miles away when I woke up. I'm like,
right.
Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. And it was dropping softball-size hail. I don't believe I checked my front camera because I left the house. When I left the house, I'm 2 streets away. A police officer pulls up next to me and says, roll down your, like this, roll down your window. I rolled down my window, and he said, Are you heading home? Are you going to be turning around? I said, well, I live south of here. I'm going to work. He goes, well, get on the tollway and hit it because the hail's coming. He said, we just got the emergency. So the police officer actually had me rolled.
Yeah.
I said, well, thank you so much. And then I headed off, and then I checked all my cameras, and I didn't. My camera's supposed to automatically go off or go on when I leave the house because it's all hooked up to the GPS. They didn't. but I checked my front camera that's always on, and my back camera's on a different system, but I checked the front one, and I couldn't see any hail bouncing. So I think, and my neighbor on a group text says, we're okay, and then other people are saying, well, smashed windshields. Like within I think within a 5-mile radius, we got hit, maybe even within a mile, but I think I got out of it. But the softball size hail, I mean, that's the stuff that'll. Oh man, it'll crush it.
My niece had my great nephew. Her son had just backed her car back into the driveway to wash it and detail it. About 45. This was several years ago. About 45 minutes later, it was softball size, and it pummeled the car.
Yeah,
it started so fast. They said they were afraid to go out there and try and pull it in. I mean, it's dangerous to be in it.
Yeah, so I didn't see anything. So hopefully, everything is everything is okay.
Yeah,
I did scan I did scan the house. I didn't see any because I can scan it with my cameras. I didn't see any
any noticeable voids in your ceiling or anything, or
windows.
Yeah,
I was looking at the windows, but
yeah.
Well, the Republicans did what I thought they were going to do.
Okay.
It seems like, okay, we need to take an emphasis to really go after Joe Biden now.
Yeah.
And
they didn't wait.
No,
they didn't wait.
We'll get to that coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
Every driver knows the cost of replacing tires is a major expense. What if you could save on tire costs without sacrificing performance or safety? Consider retreads, a sustainable, cost-effective way to rack up your miles. You may already know that retread tires offer a cost savings, but what else do you know about them? You may be surprised to learn that more than 80% of all aircraft tires in the U.S. today are retreads. From fighter jets to school buses, retreads move some of the most important cargo across many industries. They can also help you move your load, too. This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He is Eric Harley, and we figured yesterday that the Republicans would get loud and get moving on President Biden and his scandals. We had Senator Grassley yesterday say that the Burisma executive who allegedly paid Joe Biden and Hunter Biden kept 17 audio recordings of his conversations with them as an insurance policy, citing the FBI FD 1023 form that the Bureau briefed congressional lawmakers on. Grassley revealed from the Senate floor Monday what was said to be a redacted reference in the FBI-generated FD 1023 form, alleging a criminal bribery scheme between then Vice President Joe Biden and a foreign national that involved influence over U.S. policy decisions. Grassley said, and this is interesting because, this is what you look at, you and I had said this, what they showed everybody was a redacted form.
Yeah.
But Grassley and Comer have seen, apparently, from the whistleblower, the unredacted form.
Right.
So as you and I said at that point, if the FBI attempts to redact information on here, Comer and Grassley are going to know it.
Right.
And so what do they redact? They redact the fact that the Burisma executive, which is the president of Burisma, actually has 17 audio recordings of both Hunter and Joe.
That's a huge thing.
Yep.
Call and join the conversation. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Yeah, so that story coming out yesterday when Senator Grassley said that the Burisma executive who allegedly paid Joe Biden and Hunter Biden kept 17 audio recordings of his conversations with them as an insurance policy, citing the FBI FD 1023 form that the Bureau briefed congressional lawmakers on. Grassley, as he stated, that portion of it, and this is why, if you wanted to get more information out, the deal that Grassley made, okay, show this to everybody, and then Grassley and Comer can say, we've seen the entire document. Here's what they've kept out of it.
Yeah.
Here's what they redacted. They redacted that portion of it.
Right.
Because now the next thing is, okay, those audio tapes people want to hear. Now, how do you get them? I don't know. I don't know how you get them from the president of Burisma. I don't know at this point. But the fact is, the source has said that they exist, or the informant, the highly credible informant, that they do exist. What I find interesting here, again, is the Democrat response, which is really nothing, except for Jamie Raskin, who has become the Adam Schiff here and got caught in a big whopper of a lie last week. Mm-hmm. And that was really incredible because, to me, when Raskin came out and said, no, Bill Barr dropped this whole thing. You and I, I don't think, I don't know if you and I, if we were working together, I'm sure we looked at each other because I don't know if you were out at that point when that came out. But I'm just sure we both went, what? Well, that's going to be easily disproven. All Bill Barr has to say is, well, no, that didn't happen.
Right.
And he goes, no, that's not what happened. So why? It's almost Raskin was in a sense of desperation just to throw out any lie that might give them, I don't know, an hour of breathing room, because it was within a couple of hours where Barr came out and said, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, especially knowing how active Barr had been in the media and still is today, he comments on everything. I mean, the media reaches out to him consistently. Be one thing if it was John Durham, where he's a little harder to find. That might give you a couple of hours of cover, but there was no reason. There was absolutely no reason for that lie except desperation. And now the question is, because when things go quiet in the liberal media, it is either we're going to sit on this forever or we're just going to wait to see who goes up to the buffet first and takes this story on. And there is no way to ignore this story forever. There just isn't. If all of these allegations are accurate and true, and there is evidence of a bribe, it's over for Joe Biden. By the way, did you see the governor of California on with Sean Hannity? Grooming. I just have to wonder if they're grooming, because, he's basically been campaigning for a few months now.
Mm-hmm. And he's back to doing it. There's no other reason to go on Fox.
There's absolutely no reason to do a almost town hall sit down. I mean, I know it wasn't really like that, but with Sean Hannity, there's no reason for Newsom to do that.
And then say he would do a debate with Newsom.
With Newsom. DeSantis. DeSantis.
No, DeSantis.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah, Newsom.
Newsom with Newsom. Well,
right.
Yeah, Newsom.
Newsom versus Newsom.
Debating Newsom.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Is the homelessness problem really greatest in California? Well, it
now,
might be, but we're making great inroads.
We can put together a debate. You need to wear your mask in public, and then, of course, showing him at the table with his friends. You need to wear your mask in public, and then showing him at the sports venue with with all his friends and taking pictures and whatnot. But there's no doubt in my mind. I thought, okay, when I saw the alert, he's going to be on with Sean Hannity. Okay, they're grooming, and I think it is their backup plan. Look, I think it's also their wish list.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the top of it.
Yeah, because there really is nobody else.
No.
There
And I
is
don't
nobody
think
else.
right,
Now,
right.
And now the thing is, the Republicans will have a field day because if he does run, it's like, well, would you rather be Florida?
Yeah.
Or would you rather be? I mean, and for example, the news coming out of San Francisco every day, and we'll get to this here in a little bit. You know, the hotels.
Yeah.
There were more hotels coming out.
Right.
Not, sorry, we're going to stop paying our loan. We cannot survive in San Francisco. You saw the
Right.
mall.
Yep.
The mall that said, oh, okay, we're going to stop paying our loan.
Right.
We're going to default on it. That we just can't do it. We just can't do it. We can't do business in this particular state. Newsom has the look that the Democrats want. Somebody who is young, the governor of the biggest state. But the fact is, California has a reputation.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse every single day, and everybody knows it.
There are people fleeing to Florida from California.
Yeah.
There's if it were to be a DeSantis-Newsom matchup, there is your governor's experience in a nutshell.
And so I think they're like, okay, but he's got the image. He's got that, as I call it, the Pat Riley 1980s or 1990s look when he had his hair all slicked back. He looks like former coach of the L.A. Lakers.
Yeah,
that's who it reminds me of. It's like, okay,
if
it's the Pat Riley look.
If they took the DNA from Pat Riley and Bradley Cooper,
yeah,
there you go, Newsom. And that's exactly what they look.
Limitless.
Yeah, right.
Gavin Newsom.
Right. Yeah.
Remember the movie where he popped the pill and
popped the speed pill?
Yeah.
Hey man, I can speak another language. Yeah, calm down. You really can't.
I like that movie though.
It was good, but then it wore me out. I think by the time I watched it, I was too old because about halfway through, I was like, okay, I need to pause it and take a nap or something because this guy's moving way too fast.
Yeah, but it was to me, it was interesting because it's like you put yourself in that position where all of a sudden, because you take a pill, you become a genius, but then you lose it. When you don't have the pill, you lose it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, how was it? And that's what I was thinking through the entire thing. How would it be for me if you what would that be like to have all this knowledge and then lose all the knowledge? And I went, probably like when I took calculus and that one day in calculus class
where you got it,
where I said, I got it. I understand it. And then a minute later it was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, but it has to be on a level much greater than that.
And didn't he, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. Okay. Didn't he discover that he, I forgot. They revealed that he wasn't taking it because they had reverse engineered the formula or something. And then it turned out that, oh no, he can be smart without it. But it was kind of funny. He went from a total loser, and then all of a sudden he ran for president, didn't he? Didn't he run for office?
Senate or something.
Yeah.
It's been such a long time since I watched
It's the Gavin Newsom story. I'm not accusing Gavin Newsom of taking any drugs. I'm just saying. Yeah. So I really do believe, though, when I heard he's going to be on with Hannity, what he's trying to do is he's not trying to get conservatives. He's trying to demonstrate that he's not afraid of talking to the other side.
I thought the
which
same
is
thing. Yep.
playing the middle, really, not the right. And that was a play for Iowa, is what that was. That was a play for the middle. And, it is, I think the party is behind it. It would make sense. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't, don't have any conspiracy theories in my head, but it wouldn't. It would. In fact, if I were advising them, I would say you need to do that because I'm not confident that Biden will be able to, in terms of cognitive issues or his health. I don't know that he's going to make it to Election Day next year with any kind of stamina.
Well, when you're already
and then of course everything else that's on the table.
When you're this far out, and again, you know that as they say that there were 17 total audio tapes of phone calls, 15 with Hunter Biden and 2 with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I mean that is extremely damaging because it's another thing where look, the majority of the American public believes the president's dirty.
Think about the
majority believe he's dirty, and one of the reasons is because he said he has no idea and never asked and has no idea about what his son's business was.
Right.
You know, never asked him about his business dealings.
Right.
And we know that's a lie based on the not circumstantial evidence, but actual evidence.
So,
actual evidence in voicemails and in emails and whatever. We know that he's lying about that. And so the public questions, why is he lying? And now this thing coming out is just extremely, everything the last 2 weeks is extremely damaging.
Line up the day, Monday, as it happened. You know, Grassley and coming out with that information about the recordings. Then it was breaking news later in the day that FBI Director Christopher Wray was going to go to Capitol Hill. And then after that, AP broke the story that the GOP is going to walk back, the contempt charges against him. And
that was last week.
But I mean, AP put that story out. It got viral about 5 or 6 p.m. tonight. And then right before that, it was announced Newsom is going on Hannity. That was your day.
Well, we knew that last week.
Right, but
the Newsom story
it was they were repeating everything, lining up everything, putting it in front of everybody in that order throughout the day.
I think the other thing that came out yesterday was that the lawmakers have subpoenaed Hunter Biden's business partner, Devin Archer, and for a deposition, and so everyone knows it's moving. You're the one congressman who wanted to put the impeachment articles in for Biden, but as we said this week, it's going to move in that direction where they need to focus on the fact that Biden is dirty. That's what they're going to do because they know the majority of the American public believes by the poll, the Harvard-Harris poll, the majority believe that not Hunter, but the president of the United States is dirty. He's been involved in illegal influence peddling.
And the FBI flinched on Monday. That's what it came off as.
Okay, yeah.
That Christopher Wray flinched. You put all that together right now, and it is right now. Because if you're not preparing for this to be really bad, and you're, in the DNC involved at any level with Democrats, if you don't have a backup plan, Gavin Newsom, then you're just not doing your job. You're delusional if you don't have a backup plan right now. And the GOP, well, thank goodness they did their job on Monday.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric. I'm Gary. Welcome. Yeah, I think what the Republicans want to do is drip, drip, drip every day. And there, like I said, the two things coming out yesterday that 17 audio recorded tapes that the head of Burisma has, 2 from Joe Biden phone calls and 15 from Hunter Biden. Now, whether they have access to those tapes or can have access to them is still another story. But I think one of the things there, that along with the fact that they've subpoenaed Devin Archer, means, okay, this investigation is now going, we're getting to the heart and the substance of it. But I also think that what Grassley did yesterday was try to lay out the fact that even in this whole process here, that they wouldn't admit that this document actually existed at first.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't admit it until they told the FBI director, we've seen it. And then the FBI director has fought every single way to not allow that document to be seen. And then, and you and I said this, you said, from what we get from Comer and Grassley's, they've seen the unredacted document from the whistleblower. They've actually seen it. So
they're going to know what's redacted.
They're going to know what's redacted. So what's redacted? The part about there actually being, audio recording tapes, which, again, I know the Republicans did to give the impression that the FBI still doesn't want America to know the truth here and are still trying to hide it because, hey, they really haven't been investigating Biden on this at all.
Right. I wonder if that changes.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so, and on top of the two stories that we just mentioned, also the story out yesterday, Comer to review 2 more FBI informant documents about the Biden's business that they found out that the FBI still has, which is the original reason why I believe they said, okay, no contempt of Congress, because remember, that's when he said last week, Comer said, well, there's more information. Actually, there's more documents that exist. Now, it seems when Comer said that he hasn't seen those documents, so they may be redacted. But Grassley yesterday was pounding on the FBI saying, has the FBI investigated any of this? Do they know about these audio tapes? Have they heard these audio tapes? Have they done anything in this investigation?
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons that so much of this has been slow walk. But eventually, you have to say, you just got to, I think, you and I were talking about the fact of who's calling the shots here. Is it Garland? Is it Wray? Is it somebody else in the Department of Justice?
Right.
Because this, it's drip, drip, drip every day, and the drip, drip, drip isn't good either for Biden. If you're looking politically, there has to be someone inside the Democratic Party saying, let's get this all out now so we can decide what to do. Either it's Biden or it's Newsom. Because I don't think it's going to be Harris. We talked about the fact that you cannot. I mean, the only reason he picked her was because she was a minority woman, and that was it. And that's why her approval numbers are as bad or worse than even Biden's numbers. Everyone in the Democratic Party knows she cannot be the candidate, and there was that fear initially. Well, you just can't bypass her. Yeah, you can.
I think now that's not even a question for them anymore.
Sure, we've always said, sure you can. I mean, the squad may complain, and you may have the Democratic black leadership complain, or feminist groups, but then feminist groups these days let the man define the woman, so what do they care?
Right, exactly.
And so I just think there is that thought. Let's all the stuff from Biden come out now. Let it all come out.
Well, and look, the polls show that the majority of his party doesn't want him to run again. That hasn't changed.
That has not changed, no.
Gavin Newsom is being groomed. And you may scoff at that, but sorry. Look, he went to the White House one time when Biden wasn't there. He's measuring for drapes. And he's going on with Sean Hannity. He's doing he's campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going after DeSantis in that interview, by the way. You know, those are the things that you look for. Those are clear tells. Because if the Democratic Party doesn't have a backup plan, then they're delusional. Now, they are delusional. But this would be a very special kind of circumstance where everybody knows, okay, we need a backup plan. And at the very least, if nothing happens and Biden is still in good health and is not being impeached and removed from office, then he's the guy. Otherwise, Gavin Newsom is the guy. And Kamala Harris, I don't even think there is. I mean, you're going to hear maybe a couple of days of backlash, like you mentioned, from maybe a few people along the way, but it's not going to be a big deal for them anymore. And I'm wondering if they're looking at this too, saying, we got to prepare for the idea that maybe Trump is not the nominee on the right. Because if he's not the nominee, we don't want DeSantis going up, or we don't want Biden going up against DeSantis. So you're basically playing every exit ramp here. And, at the end of the day, if Biden is still the guy and Newsom went on Fox News, who cares? But it looks like grooming. And it's been going on for a few months with the whole Newsom thing. But
if it looks like grooming,
it smells
smells like grooming,
that's right.
and feels like grooming.
On top of that, we know that the president is eating like a baby.
That was what the story said yesterday.
Whatever
is
means, eating like a baby.
Yeah.
Does that mean he's sitting in a high chair?
And I also think now that there is a train of thought that because you have to look, if you're a political party, at every possibility. And the other possibility is Trump becomes stronger because of this. Mm-hmm. The Republicans focus on the two-tier justice system.
Right.
Because I don't know what's going to happen. This is unprecedented.
Right.
I've had so many people say, what's going to happen? I have no idea. We've never dealt with this in American history. I mean, this is nothing like this has ever come close to happen. Who knows? I know where the public stands on the issues, and we'll get to some polling coming up here in a little bit, but the issues go away. The issues that actually favor the Republicans might go away if it's Trump running on a two-tier justice system and that he's becoming president because he has been screwed over so much. And the majority of the Republican Party supports him on that I think that they're actually viewing Biden as so weak that I think the Democratic Party wants Biden out no matter who runs, who wins a nomination on the Republican side. I guess is the
they
point
were to tell the truth,
I'm trying to make. So they want Newsom up there who'll be talking policy and look at this guy and it's and I already know. I mean, you saw, I think you saw an example of what the attacks are going to be if it's Trump. You saw it from Chris Christie yesterday. Mm-hmm. And you and I had asked this question back last week. Will he attack? Will he attack? Will he attack? Is his goal to actually win, or is it to be the pit bull in an attempt to take Trump down?
Yeah, he went from lapdog to attack dog.
Yeah, he did. Well,
between 2016 and 2024.
The headlines are, it's like Trump hasn't. Here's a quote: Trump hasn't won a damn thing since 2016. Yeah. Loser, loser, loser. Mm-hmm. He's not really holding back there.
No. No reading between the lines on that one.
Nope.
There is zero fat in that message.
He said, I've known him for 22 years. The only thing he understands is force. The only thing he understands is coming right at him and making your case. And if these other candidates don't want to do it, and this is the whole point that we brought up, that really the other candidates, you had Nikki Haley finally come out and say, well, if these things are basically true, the allegations, he's in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, okay, you see a little turn there. And you and I were asking, when does the turn happen when they actually look at Trump's behavior? As we said, there can be a two-tier justice system, which there is here because of what Hillary got away with, and Trump still did things that are just inexcusable, that are just stupid, as we have stated. The one thing you can't figure out is what it was his motives behind it. What was the motive for Trump to do all of this? Wasn't criminal.
Right.
You see, Geraldo Rivera came out in defense of Trump yesterday. I mean, that was mind-boggling. Said he's not spying, he's not selling secrets, he's not doing anything. This is the Democrats coming after him. I had to double check. This is Geraldo Rivera saying this,
right?
And so and so he's making the point of the two-tier justice system too. But you're getting to the point here, as he's saying, look, if Trump hadn't behaved this way, this wouldn't be an issue. If you know that everybody is coming at you, and if you know they'll make stuff up about you, don't make their job easier. And what Trump has done over the last, I think this is the message Christie's trying to put out. I think with everything that's happened, that Trump, he's making the case. Trump lost in 2020. We lost the Senate race because of Trump and his lawyers telling everybody not to vote in Georgia. And then we didn't perform in 2022. And his Senate candidates, because that's the one you're worried about, his Senate candidates, the vast majority of his Senate candidates lost. He's a loser. He doesn't know how to win. He makes the wrong choices. Maybe he did some good things, but he's not going to get the win. And so I wasn't surprised yesterday when Christie did that. Now the thing is, when you have a lot of Republicans look at the actual things going on, as we said, there's two problems. There's the thing that Trump, the audio of where Trump, what he was telling the public was the reverse of what he actually believed, and the fact that his own lawyers will be testifying against him.
Yeah.
Those are really damning things legally damning to happen in a case like this. And he's got to be worried. I mean, you and I were talking about the fact, has he found the local lawyer yet for tomorrow?
Well, that's the thing is that New York Times, even we said it yesterday on the show, and then it popped up in my news feed. The New York Times had the story about, okay, we don't know who the lawyer is going to be. I mean, he has lawyers.
But he does. But
who's going to be the team?
Right. You want a local lawyer when you're walking into you want a lawyer who is familiar with the judge. You want somebody on your team who's local, and that's what they don't have.
There are two that are practice or licensed to practice in Florida, and they made that point. But the thing is that my point yesterday, because I said I wouldn't be surprised if he had this brand new team, and I do mean like brand new team altogether. Dream team kind of approach, but. Here we are. It's late in the game. We're hours away, and no one in the media, at least, seems to know who that's going to be that shows up and is going to take the lead in this case.
Looks like it, though, from what we know right now, it may not be a actual arraignment. It may just be
right. Yeah.
What the bail will be.
Right. Yeah. Bail hearing.
A bail hearing, because they're saying a magistrate's going to be there, not the actual judge.
Not the judge. Right. And the judge being friendly so far in decisions that favored Trump, I would try not to put any weight into that. If you're putting your hopes into that and you're part of the Trump team, I mean, that's certainly not a negative, but don't count it as a win just yet. You've got to, when you finally get to that point, the evidence is going to be what it is. And the team, whoever that is, his defense team is going to have to work pretty hard. This is why I think it has to be, or just my idea, that it has to be an all-new team taking a new approach and basically breaking it down, folding in what Dershowitz said. Look, the Presidential Records Act, so much of this has not been really defined. And then I would expect the approach of when he was talking to the author, he was actually he was actually lying. He was overplaying it, or he was inaccurate. He probably wouldn't say he was lying. You'll say, oh, he wasn't accurate at that point. He said something that wasn't accurate, blah, 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 blah. I don't know where they would go, but it has to be a whole new clean slate, I would think.
And he actually didn't show the document to anybody.
Right.
He was just waving it in front of them.
Yes.
Well, that's the debate going on. Should Trump go scorched earth?
And
Because his advisors are worried about the fact, you got Roger Stone and Laura Loomer trying to get a crowd out there that's pretty rowdy, and they're like, well, this isn't going to do him any good, because there's two trains of thoughts of how you do this: that everything is illegitimate, or the fact is he's really innocent, didn't do it, and you try to move one juror,
right?
And you're not going to move one juror if there's massive protest outside, and the whole thing is about everything stinks, and I've just been. If you don't actually, there's that strategy, everything's not legitimate. And there's the other strategy, actually go through the case piece by piece to get one juror not to vote with you.
Right.
And so that's the debate going on right now inside the Trump legal team.
Right, exactly. And, what is in the document that he ended up not actually sharing, and so what was it? What document was it? What proof is there of what document it was? And so you hear him talking. The question is, where's the hard evidence? And that's going to be, I think, the center of the case.
866-90 Red Eye.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Like the chief financial officer of any company, you have to be concerned about rising costs, especially without increases in revenue. Trying to reduce costs, let alone make sense of them, can be a complicated task. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. A penny saved could be $1,000 earned. Saving just 1 penny per mile over 100,000 miles driven annually will deliver $1,000 to the bottom line at the end of the year. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Shell Rotella with advanced synthetic technology. For more information, go to overdriveonline.com to the Overdrive's Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on Business 101 and many other topics.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so will be interesting. But but after tomorrow, like I said, the arraignment may then be a couple of weeks down the road, and then where do you go on it? You know a lot of information on it already. On the Trump case, for example, you know a lot more than the Trump case than you do. I mean, there's a lot we know about the Biden case, but the Biden case is drip, drip, drip every day. There's something new coming out, and I think that's what the Republicans probably wish to do, is have this thing. And bringing Devin Archer in for a deposition means, okay, now they're getting the witnesses under oath.
Yeah.
That they may use or that they may bring for a public hearing. Because I do think that you're going to have a public hearing. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was this autumn. I just think that I think on both sides, on the Democrat side and the Republican side, they want to clear the table. They want it clear who's going to be their monster to run next year against each other.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And I think they would like to do that like now. I mean, clearly the sooner the better. But
and there may be two different things. The Democrats may, because they've always had this mindset, they want Trump to be the guy, and the Republicans are trying to do everything to show how corrupt not only the Biden administration is, but law enforcement. It's the entire infrastructure of the government that is run by the left. that has to go. So it's not just Biden, it's the Democratic Party that has all this particular influence.
Right.
And that's what I believe that's what they wish to do.
Yeah.
That the government is weaponized.
Yeah.
And so the government has to change, not just the president, but across the board.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I honestly, you look at it right now, both parties. I mean, what's the number one concern of any candidate who is going to be, while they're not the presumptive nominee officially, you look at it, and right now, according to the polls and according to the situation, it's Biden versus Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But with any candidate going in, what do you want? No baggage. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
That's not happening this time.
That's not happening this time.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Got an email here. What did you think of the Hannity Newsom thing, the interview? I mean, he cut it up into certain things. So I mean, I don't know what was left out of it. I would have asked different questions than Hannity. I would have been more direct when Newsom was being disingenuous or not telling the truth. I would have called him on it.
Right.
My goal would be to get him off. They were talking over each other a tremendous amount of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, don't talk over me. Let me say it, then I'll let you say it. And I would be much more direct with the Gavin Newsom because the state is failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would call him on it. And I think that, Hannity trying to, I think one of the problems is one of the reasons he wanted Newsom on is because their ratings are hurting right now. And he came up with the idea. I want to start the big debates and I want the first one to be you and DeSantis. And I'm like, okay, you're trying to build up and bring on guests. And the one thing that you and I've talked about many times before, that in the media, even in, one of the troubles that I always had when I was on during the day and could get good guests, it didn't matter. And you were the same way, that I didn't want anybody BSing me, even if it was a Republican.
If I'm not going to get anywhere, it doesn't make
right. And I'd call them out on it, even a Republican. Well, people don't like it when you truly call them out and you say you're lying about that. They don't like that, and so they won't come on again. And so when you bring somebody like him on, you want him to get on again. So, we're going to have a reasonable discussion, which means you don't get to the heart of the matter, or you don't get to the actual blunt truth of it.
Right.
And so that would have been, it was. I'm not saying it was a bad interview. It was okay. I would have been much harder on Newsom and much more specific.
I think that you're likely going to see this. At the very least, you're going to see Gavin Newsom as the surrogate for the party, because Biden can't campaign. He just can't.
Yeah, you're right. He can't. Well,
he can make appearances and he can wave.
You saw Jill's going to be the main one campaigning for him in a couple of places in the near future.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I almost said it last week. How long before the First Lady is out there? And she's the lead campaigner in the house, in their household. And you don't want to put Kamala Harris out there. Kamala Harris can do The View. Kamala Harris can do other interviews where it's not going to be, the weird speech of repeating phrases and the weird laugh. And if she has a weird laugh on The View, well, they all do. And so, it's not going to be Biden. So you need the surrogates. Well, who do they have? I mean, you're not going to have – who wants to go out right now? Think about this. In the party, who wants to go out there and campaign for Joe Biden? The party is right now very heavy with a lot of things that are weighing them down. Now, if you're Gavin Newsom, you're in California. Nothing weighs you down. We talked about his blue bubble. Outside of it, you're not going to resonate. I mean, except for in other blue bubbles, that's not going to get you anywhere. So then what? Well, I mean, you've got things being hit so hard over and over again. Tell me who the other surrogates on the left are.
I would have, for example, if I was preparing to do an interview with Newsom, number one, it would be on the electric vehicle mandates. Mm-hmm. Not that I wouldn't hit. I would hit the sanctuary cities. I would be much more blunt that we should be a nation. We should be a nation that has legal immigration, not illegal. You're talking about comprehensive. Immigration reform, which means you want to give amnesty to people that come here illegally. Right. That's wrong to do so.
Right.
We should have people come in legally to this country, not illegally. You are promoting law breaking, and you shouldn't be doing it as a governor.
Right.
And we should actually and so I would have been much more blunt on that. The other thing is another report today was out. We'll get to it a little bit later on in the show that says California will not have the power to be able to will not have the power generation capability to power EVs.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to have it. They don't have the power. They don't have the future isn't there. I would pound on him on that. Mm-hmm. You talk about California and you talk about what a big state you are, yet every report comes out, you're killing the grid. Right. You're absolutely killing the grid. You are hurting.
Right.
And this is where you don't have the discussion. You accuse him of doing the wrong thing. That's what I would do because he is doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, there's no way they'll make that 35 mandate. It's not going to happen.
The 35 mandate isn't going to happen. You're living in a delusion, as is Biden, saying you're going to do it with solar and wind. And now the administration has added nuclear. I don't know if you've added nuclear to the entire mix, but likely in California, not in my backyard, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, it's already being put out there, and you give all the different engineering organizations to come out and say, you're not going to have the power. Why would you dare? Why would you dare try to hurt your state's economic, energy, security? Why would you do that? And as a whole, if you plan on running for president, why would you be hurting American national security in doing this?
Right.
If you hit them on the right things, he has nothing. But if you're going to approach it, we're going to have a reasonable discussion. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to have, if you're going to hold a reasonable discussion, you have to have a reasonable view.
Yeah.
The views aren't reasonable from Gavin Newsom. They're insane. From critical race theory to the activist, the liberal activist, insane transgender movement, to their policies on the border, to their energy policies, to defund the police, to crime. Mm-hmm. And you sit there and say, okay, let's have it. And then they talk over each other so you don't get anywhere. And it's like, okay, interview over.
Yeah.
So, no, I would have done it different than Hannity.
Yeah. I guess we'll see what the ratings turned out, how the ratings turned out. I don't see look, Newsom would love to appease the middle.
Mm-hmm.
He would love to do that in, again, prepping, grooming, whatever you want to call it, to be the backup guy. The one thing they remember when then Governor Cuomo they were saying it out loud, promoting him as the guy if Biden couldn't make it in the last presidential run. Of course, that didn't work out. But now they're not saying it out loud, but it's pretty clear. And at the very least, you have another surrogate out there for the party on the issues that can speak coherently. Now, on the issues, the problem is of course, They don't resonate with the American people. They just don't. I mean, they still have the, climate change crowd. But when you start, the one thing that I think they haven't, and maybe nobody's been able to measure it yet, but when you start putting those mandates in place, you change it. That's not incentivizing. That's saying it will be against the law to sell a new vehicle after 2035 unless it's an EV. That's a very different approach. And you don't win over people that way. Now, we got a few years till then, but still the tone that is taken has turned people off on the left. Maybe it doesn't turn them off completely to EVs, but it turns them off to the approach, the political approach, because it's very different than incentivizing, saying, here, we'll give you $7,500 in a tax credit. And, gosh, the liberal transgender movement and mutilation surgery and all of this that's on the table for them, it's a mess. And they can't talk in the mainstream realm. They can't.
No, and so, I mean, that's it, understanding what he's attempting to do, which is I'm going to sit there and talk about, the comprehensive immigration reform, and we care about No, here's how it should be. And this is what the American people in law want. Legal immigration.
Yeah.
What you're saying by comprehensive immigration reform is how many illegal immigrants can we legalize in this country to a path to citizenship?
Right.
And that's no way to run an immigration system. Well, then Reagan was wrong.
Yeah. Right.
Because it didn't solve the problem, did it?
No, I mean,
this is where because he brought up in the interview, I didn't play that portion for people, but where he was saying, well, Reagan, what about Reagan? We want to do what Reagan did. Reagan didn't solve the problem when they made the deal with the Democrats. Didn't solve any problem, did it?
Right. If you can't secure the border,
right,
there's no point. If you have no desire to secure the border, then there's no point. They're not screaming. They're trying to, they act as if this is some kind of negotiation, right? Well, if we'll do immigration reform, then no. Secure the border. Period. Full stop. Secure the border. Separate issue, immigration reform. That is not a quid pro quo that has ever worked. Why is that? Because unless you're able to secure the border, then 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, you're going to be talking about the same thing over and over again. Why? Well, because people are still coming here illegally. And you have a significant number, millions of them. And what do? Oh, well, we'll do immigration reform. Nope. Tried that once. Didn't work. The answer is no. Secure the border. If we want to talk about the visa situation, I don't think politically you're going to have that conversation right now. I just don't think you are, because it's not going to resonate with people. But if you want to talk about, as then President Trump was talking about it with Jim Acosta, the day Jim Acosta was thrown out of the media room, Trump in that conversation was saying, we want people to come here legally because we're creating jobs. We need people for those jobs. Well, politically, I don't think that is on the table right now. I just don't think you're going to get the support for that.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I guess in conclusion, I could say I believe that the Democratic Party is absolutely scared to death about the whole Biden situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, not just about his cognitive abilities, but the drip, drip, drip of a bribe, because everything changed when that story came out that this is about a bribe.
Well,
everything changed.
The question, too, how many people in the party knew? How many people have known this for years?
I said this while you were out. You and I always asked the question, way, way back when, in impeachment number 1, did they go after, because it was so bogus when they went after him, and everybody knew it. It's like, why are they going after him? Because we knew at that time that the Obama State Department was extremely concerned about the fact that Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma.
Right.
And his father was the point person, and then bragged about it but way back then, remember, we played that audio.
And who was the CIA officer that went to Adam Schiff's office? It was the one assigned to, before Trump, the vice president of Obama's reign, and that was Joe Biden. He had intimate knowledge of all of that.
Yes. And so we said from the very beginning, no, that this has legitimate concerns for possible corruption, because there's no reason that Hunter Biden should be serving on the board. And that was what it was about. And I always wondered, we had talked about this way back then, did they go after him because they were getting too close?
Right.
Did they decide to change the topic? Because now, as we see everything, I mean, as I said the other day, I said, man, if it's a Burisma executive, man, this changes everything.
Right.
And it's a Burisma executive.
Yeah.
Who's the Burisma executive? The president of Burisma.
The top guy.
Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen if you're in Iowa.
Yeah.
If you're in California.
That's right.
If it's tomorrow. If it's the next day.
That's
if
right.
It's the next day after that.
Uh-huh. If it's yesterday, oh, wait, we haven't come up with that yet.
When and where you want.
That's right.
All right, so I see Pat Sajak is retiring from the Wheel of Fortune. Wasn't he quite public in his conservative viewpoints a couple of years ago?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
he
thought
was.
Yeah.
He responded to a tweet one time. He had posted, and I saw it just as he did it. He said, hey, I'm trying to win a bar bet. Am I still the host? This is a few years back. Am I still the host of Wheel of Fortune? Or I am still the host of Wheel of Fortune, right? And I said, no, Seacrest is. Because, I was right there 1 second when he posted it. I posted, no, Seacrest is. And he came back and he goes, dang it. He responded to it, so that was fun. But, yeah, he took over for Chuck Woolery way back. Does anybody remember that Chuck Woolery was once host?
I have no idea.
Yeah, and so
I've never been a game show watcher, whether it's Jeopardy or whatever.
Yeah,
I've just never.
Unless it was, what was it, Match Game? Gene Rayburn?
Oh.
And Hollywood Squares.
Gene Rayburn, who had he had the real long microphone.
Yeah.
I mean, that I do remember.
That was kind of funny. Not as funny, I think, as Hollywood Squares. But if they could pare those down to like the best of. They said Hollywood Squares, the deal was because they would tape a week's worth of episodes in one day. So what they would do is in the morning tape Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Go to lunch, come back and take Thursday and Friday. They said always watch the Thursday and Friday because back then it was normal to have a 3-martini lunch. So, not sure if that's accurate or true, but that was the rumor. And so if you ever see those episodes, watch the ones that were on later in the week.
Well,
but
I watched Hollywood Squares probably when I was a kid. I mean, as an adult. I mean, once I became a teenager, except for the Gong Show, I did watch some of the Gong Show.
I loved the Gong Show. You know,
Gene, the
dancing machine. You know what was weird during the time when Chuck Barris passed away? Chuck Barris and Chuck Berry passed away fairly close together. And Ben E. King and B.B. King also passed away close together. And I made the joke, I think what we have is a Grim Reaper with a hearing problem. But Chuck Barris was so funny. I mean, just the way he did it, just the way he presented it. I mean, he was kind of the straight guy, kind of, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, the Gong Show was just, it was just greatness. It was.
Remember, I don't think he was the first. He produced it, but they had a different host.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out, and so he didn't want to be the host, and he just did it. But I mean, he was perfect for the insanity there. I did see. This is just on going through all my YouTube stuff, and there was the long interviews they do with different. What is it? The American Academy of Arts or whatever, where they talk to all these people of all their different television shows.
Yeah.
And they talked to Jamie Farr about being on the Gong Show.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, man.
Yeah. No, see, that seems like it would be really fun to be on, right? Mm-hmm. That, Hollywood Squares. I think Match Game, too. Match Game was a lot of fun. Just the writers made it a lot of fun. And I think Sajak makes Wheel of Fortune fun. There's this in over the last few years. This I think it's clickbait more than anything. Oh, people react to his words that he said or whatever he said to a contestant. He's just poking fun. It's all tongue in cheek. You know, it's
John
he's
Barber,
kind of the comedian.
John Barber, who ended up on Real People.
Yeah.
Was the first host of the Gong Show, but he did not like the fact he wanted it to be a serious amateur hour.
Right.
And it's like, no, that's not where we're headed. I mean, the worse you were, the better it was.
Oh, the better.
Yeah.
No, you want to. It was funny because sometimes the celebrities, they would hold the mallet for the gong, and get up and dance with it first, before they're about to use it, and then have some fun with whatever the act was, and of course, then the unknown comic. The unknown comic was comedy so bad that it was good, that it was funny, while wearing a paper bag over his head. And that, it just, I don't know. It seems like they're not willing to have fun, and someone made this comment, I think it was Nate Bargatze, said, I want to go back to the time when people are just willing to have fun on TV, whatever we're watching, whatever entertainment. Just fun. Have some fun. And those were fun. The fun in Wheel of Fortune is trying to guess the puzzle. Like Jeopardy, trying to answer the question before the first contestant, whoever gets it, answers it. That's kind of the thing. You're playing along. And then, back in the day, remember when they did shopping, right? You won so much, and then you would just go shopping. Okay, I'll take the Dalmatian for $1,500 or whatever. And that kind of thing was interesting. But, I mean, it was really about solving the puzzle, playing along.
Gong Show only lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah.
It had a limited run. You couldn't go on.
It did,
with that
and
forever.
it did go on into repeats, but it was like, you were only going to get so much out of that. Gene, the Dancing Machine, Unknown Comic, and and celebrities. I mean,
The
there's
Popsicle Twins.
yeah,
That's all I'll say.
yeah.
We won't go any further than
That's pretty much all you need.
The Popsicle Twins. And Jamie Farr talked about that also. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did find out one thing though. Well, with the announcement that Pez Sajak in the next year is going to retire.
Yeah.
And it was that I realized that everybody I went to high school, they're all retired and they sit at home and they watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
See,
because they were all commenting on it. I'm like,
right.
Wow, I don't relate to this at all.
I think the only time I see it now is if I'm at my parents' house and it happens to be on.
That's it for me. My father will watch. I'll be back for this weekend.
Right.
For, what was it, a day and a half, 2 days? 2 days. 2 days. That's right. And so probably Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah.
The news will be on. He'll watch the nightly news, which drives me crazy. I have to leave.
Yeah. See, I can't stay in the room either.
I cannot watch. I cannot watch the network news, and my father will always want to watch it. It's like, okay, I gotta go out and do. I just can't. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I'll stay for the local news, but I won't. I don't like the network news at all.
Yeah, the local news I'll stay for. The network news, because I view it that I'm off work. I'm on a little vacation, and so if I watch it, all I do is pick up on the bias of every story. Well, that's a biased story. They said that. They did that.
From open to close.
Right. And it's like, well, they didn't bring up this up. I mean, the bias is here, the bias is there. And I just can't watch it. And for some reason, that's my parents. I mean, that's what they grew up watching was the network news. That's what they know. And there's a comfort zone. And my father doesn't believe all of it, but he can sit and watch it. I can't. Yeah. And so afterwards, then I don't know what order comes on, Jeopardy and then Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
And then if my sisters with my dad now, they'll all sit down and they'll watch it. I'm like, okay. And I may try it. But I guess at that point, my problem with game shows is I really don't want to work when I watch TV.
Well,
I don't want to think when I watch. Luckily, the majority of shows you don't have to think. But
I mean, I kind of fall in that category too, and I also don't care who wins. Which of the contestants. I mean, I never have a favorite. It's not and so I would say Jeopardy more so than Wheel of Fortune. I probably have a tendency to play along, but I'm rarely in front of Jeopardy. I mean, it's rare these days. I have not seen it since Trebek died. And so, you and I have read the stories about what's, how it's going down and now Ken Jennings and the whole thing. But
I did see
when I tune in to if I see Wheel of Fortune, I do enjoy Pat Sajak's back and forth. I think he does.
Oh no,
good job.
They're all good. I mean, they're all. Well, I haven't seen any of the new Jeopardy with the new hosts.
I haven't.
I read about the controversy, and I'm like, nah, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
But I did see. I was going through the channels, and Cheers was on, and it was when the mailman, when Cliff Clavin was on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And claimed he got the answer right, and they said it was wrong. He goes, "No, it's right." And that was actually pretty funny. But but that got into it. I mean, where he talked about Cliff Clavin, him and his mother watching. But that actually is true. People have watched Jeopardy. And when Trebek died, it was like they lost a family member.
Yeah,
because it was on after the news, and people
a mainstay.
People watched it religiously.
It was part of a routine.
Yeah,
it wasn't just. It was. I mean, it was part of that local news sandwich between local news and network news and prime time. That was a routine.
Yeah,
that
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't break.
people went 40 years watching that.
Yeah.
Every single night. It'd be on after the
Yep.
news, and
Yep.
people would watch it. And
Yeah, because
that's
Wheel of Fortune at my parents' house in that market is between the local news, which comes on the 6 o'clock. They have a 5 and a 6. And then they do the, let's see here. Then they do Wheel of Fortune. And then at 7 o'clock, the primetime, whatever primetime stuff comes on. But I don't watch TV anymore. You know, I just don't watch any live TV. That's the only TV I ever see.
yeah, I really. That's the same with me.
Yeah.
Even golf. I turned on the golf the other day.
Yeah.
I turned on the Canadian Open, Jim
Right.
Nantz.
Yeah.
And it's Pride Week, and we would like to talk to the LGBTQ. And I'm like, gone.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah. Right.
don't need
Yeah.
don't need CBS to be promoting
Yep.
the organization that
Yeah.
promotes child mutilation,
Right.
and that men should compete against women.
Right.
Sorry, and
Yeah.
that's what Pride has become.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like, nope, sorry, agenda gone.
Yep.
And I did think though, I said, was CBS doing that because it's golf, or were they doing it because it's Canada?
Oh.
Because I hadn't seen CBS do that. By the way, did you see that who is the only major league team that has not done a Pride night? Major League Baseball team. The Texas Rangers.
Oh. Okay.
I saw that the other day. They it's like, no,
Yeah.
And so that's the entire test. Must you do it?
Right.
Because remember, silence is violence.
Right.
There is no neutrality. Either you're with us and celebrate us,
Yeah.
or we will destroy you.
Mark Cuban saying all these companies going woke is good business.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dallas area sports.
Yeah, that was.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, remember, he's an NBA owner that promoted the lie of police.
No, they can get away with a lot of it. I mean, but remember, though, the NBA commissioner at the end of that first season had to come back and say, yeah, not so much.
Yeah. Why aren't you promoting it like you were in that year, Mark?
Right. Exactly.
That'd be my question.
Yeah. And you think it's good that the way that Target stock has gone and the way that Bud Light's earnings have gone?
But understand that they were, and this is the most important thing about the NBA, they promoted a lie, and they promoted what's his name? LeBron James, who lied about Wisconsin help inflamed the riots of Kenosha.
Oh, yeah.
And that was based on a complete lie, and the NBA was behind it. And that's okay if that's what Mark Cuban wants to support, that they support good things, fine. He's full of crap.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's flat out false. Absolutely.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Man, that was sad about actor Treat Williams.
Yeah.
Killed in a motorcycle accident?
Yeah, so this happened yesterday. According to his agent, he was riding a motorcycle and was hit by a car in Vermont. He was care flighted to a hospital there. Elizabethtown Community Hospital, where he died. He was 71. I loved Treat Williams. I watched him in a number of movies over the years and shows. I always thought he was great. I always thought he had that great presence, on the screen.
His face has character.
Yeah, exactly. He could play a number of different characters along the way. I mean, really, it kind of kicked off, even though he did a lot of work before then. But Hair, the movie Hair, I'm not a big musicals guy, but but he was good in it, and it did very well. And then he kind of went on and did, a number of, great roles, and really shocking. and very sad. Our condolences to his family. But, Treat Williams killed in a motorcycle accident yesterday at the age of 71.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very sad.
When I was a kid and a teenager, I wanted a motorcycle more than anything in my life.
Yeah.
And now that I could afford one,
Mm-hmm.
no way in hell.
I feel the pressure because my last name is Harley, and that's the first question when someone meets me. Hey, do you own a Harley? Well, no, I don't, but I have family members that work for the Harley Davidson Corporation, and I don't. You really have to be. This is something my brother-in-law has a really nice bike, and we had a conversation one time. Because he likes to just go cruising around town. He doesn't use it as his daily driver. He's just, he likes the great ride around town. He lives in a small town. I don't, number one. Number two, I don't have that experience. And number three, you learn that, quite unfortunately, that the drivers of other vehicles don't see you. They just don't see motorcycles. And my brother-in-law, when he said it to me, I started noticing more and more. And I noticed that the people that were on bikes were very, very, most of them were very, very head on a swivel kind of people as they were riding on the highway or on streets because... And now it's been repeated to me over and over by a lot of people who ride motorcycles. And for anyone that's out there on a motorcycle, you know it. Cars just don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite unfortunate, but it is the case. And you have to be very cautious when you're on a bike. And that's the thing. I don't trust me on a bike. I don't have that experience.
Gary McNamara and Eric Harley taking your calls. 1-866-90-RED-EYE.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, some polling numbers.
All right.
All right.
All right.
A larger majority of Americans now, 69%, than in 2021, 62% say transgender athletes should be allowed to compete on sports teams that conform with their birth gender. Finally, people are fighting back against the insanity. That's why.
Right.
The arguments being there. When the liberal radical transgender activist movement was steamrolling by intimidation over anyone who dared to disagree.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, people were like, okay, yeah.
Well,
you see it now, just a 7. That's almost a 10% change,
right?
In just a little over a year and a half.
You know what's interesting is there is that turn. You and I talked about with the Disney thing. I think too with McAuliffe and with a number of folks on the left. That they didn't realize you're not going up against conservatives or people in office, Republicans in office. You're going up against the parents. And I would love to see the breakdown of a poll like this in terms of parents. If they were to break it down into certain groups, okay, how many parents believe that it's okay for them to play sports on their daughter's team or whatever? But then... We saw more of a shift. Was it last week? We played the audio from Gays Against Grooming.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it was, hey, we don't want any part of this.
Right.
And while that's not exactly what's going on with, the sports thing, it is obviously directly related to it. And we have heard from transgenders, from gays, who have said no. No. They should not be playing on the same team. And this is
and you should not be teaching. You shouldn't be teaching any type of sexual explicit content
to young kids.
to 5-year-olds,
Exactly.
6-year-olds, and 7-year-olds.
Yep, exactly.
And that was a number of the audio cuts we played. We had the video for Gays Against Grooming.
Mm-hmm. And so when we were talking earlier about Gavin Newsom or anybody on the left, and I'm and having the conversation about who their surrogate is going to be, because it's not Biden. I mean, for him, it's going to be his wife. It's going to be the first lady. Jill Biden's going to get out there a little bit, and that's probably going to increase more and more. He's not capable of doing it, and we all know that. Physically and mentally, he can't get out there in front of the media. He can't get out there on the road. I mean, he can walk past them at a great distance and wave and smile. He has trouble even doing that sometimes. And so who are the surrogates for the party? Well, you're going to see that. Obviously, Gavin Newsom is going to be that if he's not the outright replacement eventually for Biden. But when they get out there, these are the problems that I alluded to earlier on their plate. The polls show that the American people are not connecting with this ramped up agenda, especially the liberal transgender movement. They just aren't. The American people are pretty much, look, if you're an adult, you live your life.
Right.
But when it comes to kids, we draw the line.
When it comes to kids and when it comes to women, biological women being able to play their own sports.
Title IX.
And that's why, and we said this before because you and I have been talking about this for well over a decade. And we don't make predictions, but we did predict what would happen here.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we predicted, we said, will there eventually be a split that you will have the LGB that you'll have a significant split from the LGB from the rest of the alphabet come someday when they realize, okay, this is something completely different than what we're promoting. And that happened. And the other thing we said is liberal feminism will die.
Yeah.
And you saw that. I mean, that was because in 2016, and we actually saw that happen in front of our eyes, and you and I, because you and I had been talking about it for a number of years, and it was the first Women's March when Trump was president.
Yeah.
And they all were wearing the pink hats representing a vagina.
Right.
Then the second year, there was a split because not all women have vaginas, and that's when they started talking about old school feminists versus the modern feminist of today who believes that a man can be a woman.
Right.
How can you be a feminist and say a man can be a woman? I mean, that's for another discussion, but still, it's like, what?
Then you have people carved out. Martina Navratilova, who is iconic in that movement, all of a sudden is the oppressor.
And she did come out against the cyclist. Did you see that one cyclist, transgender, won the race, bicycle race, by 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Winning
that.
a bicycle race by 5 minutes is like winning the Indianapolis 500 by 499 miles.
Right? No, seriously. It is. Those bike races are always neck and neck.
Martina Navratilova and former British distance runner Mara Yamuchi were among those to slam Austin Killips after the transgender cyclist finished first place at the Belgian waffle ride in North Carolina. Kibbs finished ahead of the others and talked about the win after the race. Won in, won over, 4 minutes by one, and by 7 minutes, I believe, over the other woman.
Wow.
And Martina Navratilova, what a joke. You and I, though, there are some topics that we talk about because we've never been afraid to talk about anything, and there are some things that were viewed as, well, I would always talk about when I first got into talk radio, and they said, well, don't talk about race. Why? You don't, because you can't. You don't want to talk about race. Number one, because you're white. It's like, okay. There isn't a topic I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about a topic because you feel that it's sensitive. I have no problem talking about any topic.
Yeah, right.
Except my dating life. And anything else, anything else
I was going to say there's really not much to talk about. So doesn't exactly present opportunity.
Right. I really can't do one of my long monologues, can I? I was going down the street, and she pulled up next to me in the stoplight. She was in her car. I smiled. She smiled back at me. Wow.
Yeah, I've been married for 32 and a half years. I don't have much of a dating life either. That's not true. We do shake hands in the hallway every once in a while. She says, "Hey, I'm thinking about going to a movie Friday night. Have fun."
You salute her.
Exactly. That's right. I salute her. She is higher ranking.
But
that's true.
There are some topics that we have felt like over the years where you do feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
And that was one of them.
There really wasn't a lot of
even
echoing or anybody, even in the conservative circles of that. And sometimes what that feels like is that, okay, you're on that topic and we lay it out and say, this is the only way this is going to go. And this is over a decade ago. And there's nobody else on it. And it's like, okay, did we make too big of a deal of it? And I mean, we didn't. We were going based on what we had the story, and here's the story. Here are the facts. Is anybody else going to say anything? And nobody said anything until recent years, and we were on it early. I mean, it started. One of the first things that one of the first big stories was the little girl in the school bathroom in California, and that goes back years. And so all of these things were a big deal to us, and we're kind of alone on that. And but eventually it kind of came around.
And it started with the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Which was
that part of that story. Yeah.
And what we were amazed of was the intimidation of corporations, and remember the boycott of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they wanted a boycott of Texas. It's
right.
It's people, it's time to stand up. If you're going to boycott the state because you don't believe that girls should be exposed to male genitalia.
Yeah, right. Well, remember,
and so we were always shocked that there wasn't, because we were pushing back on it big time, and we were like, where are the other conservatives? Where are they? I mean, is there another topic that was, that meant that, or were there a ton of other topics that meant this could never be mentioned? It was like, no, not that we spent a lot of time on it. I mean, not that we sat there and, oh no, we're on it and somebody else isn't. Are we going to get in trouble? It was just a quick thing. We'd look at each other and go, is anybody else talking about this?
Yeah, it's just, it just wasn't that echo. We have more of an echo chamber now, but still, because of social media is an echo chamber. But in 2016, even, when we were talking about a local story, Fort Worth ISD had a transgender student, and they were going back and forth at school board meetings about how it was going to be handled, and they had come to the solution of, well, don't worry, no other students need to be concerned, no other parents need to be concerned, and the transgender student and their parents don't need to be concerned. We're going to make arrangements for the transgender student. Everything's going to be fine. It was about a bathroom and locker room thing, and they came to their solution. And just days later, the same week, is when the joint edict from the Obama administration, Department of Justice and Department of Education came down, and basically squashed what they did locally and said, no.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in direct response, or maybe it was. They didn't mention that in the edict, but in that memo, were very clear and said you can't make special arrangements for any transgender student, and they get to be a female if they say they're a female. They get to change their name if they say they changed their name. No doctors need to be involved. No parents need to be involved. That's just the way it is. And the Department of Justice was on board with that edict because they were saying that you are violating that student's rights if you don't abide by their wishes. And so all along the way, this has been building. And we said at the time, even if a Republican wins in the fall in 2016 and there is no longer a Democrat in the White House, the Democrats are nowhere near done on this. And here we are.
And you remember that because the Obama administration did that. And then at the end of the term, this has been December of 2016, remember that that Obama did that interview. I think it was with The Atlantic.
Yeah.
Where they said, you always say you're black, but in essence, you're mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you say black? And he said, well, because I've come to realize that race is a social construct.
Yeah.
And we went, wow. And that went over every liberal's head because I'm sure that even the liberal black leadership would not have agreed of the Democratic Party would have agreed with that one.
Right.
And it went nowhere. We brought it up, and we've always returned to that to show you that the true radical that Obama was, because he's the one that really, you think about it, everything we face today, defund the police, the criticism that the criminal always gets deference and the police officer should always be the one under suspicion, came from Obama.
Yeah.
Defund the police and all that originally came from Obama.
Yep.
The systemic racism, which was a lie about police departments, originally came from Obama.
Right.
The radical transgender activist movement and changing Title IX came from Obama. And then Obama, that race is a social construct.
And remember,
which is just mind-boggling in how radical it was when he stated that. So radical that Democrats didn't even comment on it.
Remember the Professor Gates incident, and the police acted stupidly, and then that backlash it then led to the beer summit, of course. But it was again clear where the agenda was going.
Was that Bud Light?
I don't know what beer they use. That's a good question.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, here it is, new report out, new study. California cannot generate enough power to fuel its electric vehicle mandate.
Yeah, there's that. There's the mining that will be required for those vehicles and their batteries, whether you're going with cobalt, lithium, nickel, all of these, any of these materials, that would have to, just for the California mandate, the mining is going to have to ramp up tremendously, and that's not going to happen. And then what are you going to do when there's no power? Stay home? Uber?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, here we go. You ready?
Okay, what do you got?
Here we go.
You got a 10-foot alien in your backyard? What do you got? No? No?
No, nothing. Well, wait, you just made me think about something. What was not the 10-foot alien, because that story we saw, and then that sort of disappeared, and I expected to hear more about the 10-foot aliens.
On Monday morning, it seemed to be recycling. A lot of things were recycling on Monday that are days old.
Yeah.
And I don't know why on social media. But, yeah, that story's a bit aged.
All right, and very quickly, before I get to this story, though, because I don't want to forget about this, the story that came out last week, there's never been an update on it, and it was on the FBI. Comer saying that the FBI is in fear of the life of the informant because of the Biden situation. That's how.
And so that was the Florida representative and Luna that put it on her Twitter.
Not Comer.
Right.
Luna said it.
Yeah.
And then somebody else said it.
Well,
there was another member of Congress who also said it.
I think they were repeating it.
Was it MTG who said it?
And what I don't know, it may have been her that said it, and what I don't know is because there were a couple of GOP members of the House that were repeating it, and I don't know if they were repeating that based on what Luna tweeted but it never went anywhere. We never saw the follow-up.
Right, because that'd be extremely important because you're getting to the point, well, then the FBI believes it's somebody in the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Or
that's the way it was phrased. The FBI feared.
Right. The FBI feared it'd have to be either somebody in the Biden administration who was threatening the life of the informant or somebody from Burisma.
Right.
Right? One or the other.
Right.
Has to be one.
Right.
And it's like, well, why does anybody who really cares about Biden's dental work?
Right.
You know what I mean? Somebody asked the right questions to Comer on this, and wait a minute, whatever happened to that story? Is the story because that shows that the FBI now, if the FBI didn't investigate it, if the FBI has not been investigating what's been going on, as Comer is claiming, then I would say, does that mean that they know that the Biden administration or Burisma, it has to be one or the other, is threatening the life of this informant? And would threaten the life if they knew who this informant was, and you haven't investigated this all this time? Because if you fear for the informant and the life of the informant, there must be a reason, and therefore you must believe that the charges are credible. Otherwise, why would you be in fear?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and I didn't see any update at all on that. She did tweet yesterday, Anna Paulina Luna from Florida. She did tweet that it looks like Gavin Newsom is going to make a run for president. It's basically what everybody else was picking up on.
Well, this is one of those instances where we feel alone. It's like, how come we're focusing on this and nobody else seems to care about it?
Is it me? Is it us?
Right. Is it us? What's going on here?
Because at the very least, there should have been media follow-up. Now, there were stories, the New York Post, I think, did Fox News do it? But they were doing it based on her tweet.
Right.
So then, okay, you did the story. You acknowledged the tweet. We know you saw it. Where's the follow-up?
Where's the follow-up to Comer and to Grassley? Is this true?
Yeah. Is this true? What did you know about this? Because it was worded as such. It was a concern, or is still a concern, of the FBI.
And why?
And why is that?
Because you're trying to figure out whether this is true or not. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Are these allegations true? And then you're telling us that the FBI, and from what I know, it's not in the FD 1023. Did I have it right? Is that the right?
Yeah,
is that the
think
form?
that's the BR 549.
It was almost as if this is what the FBI communicated to you, is that we don't want to give you all this because if the informant is known, the informant's life is in danger. Well, who could the informant's life be in danger by? Is it, and they made it clear, or she made it clear, because of this investigation. It wasn't because of some other investigation, because we had asked that question. Did they drop it because it's just, well, if his name is known, he's been an informant for other investigations? It was when she made her tweet, I believe it was her updated tweet the next day, she made it absolutely clear
Yeah.
that it was about this investigation.
Right.
So the only thing that you can come to is, as you're trying to figure out whether it's credible or not, if the FBI believes the informant's life is in danger, who is who is putting the informant's life in danger? It can only be somebody related to the Biden family, right? Or Burisma.
Right.
They're the two parties involved in it. Who else would be threatening his life? And if somebody's threatening his life, how do you know that if you're the FBI? Or are you just saying that because he's an informant? I mean, you need to get to the bottom of this story because if the FBI truly believes that the informant's life is in danger if his name is out there, then it's either the Biden family or Burisma, which means the FBI agents telling you that, believe that this is legitimate and actually happened? Because if it wasn't legit and the bribe never happened, well, then who would care? It's not true. Don't care.
Right.
They can say whatever they want. I'm not threatening somebody's life who's telling a lie. I'm only going to threaten their life if they're telling me the truth and can expose me.
And it's also, part of it is that we want to make sure that there is zero hyperbole going on, or extraction of something and making it a personal analysis of, if that's what Luna was doing, saying, okay, this is what I take from this is this. You have to be very careful in your wording because everything is just going to boom. It's going to be a hyper trigger effect. And if it is hyperbole or your take, my take on it is that the FBI is worried. Well, wait a minute. Back up. You didn't put anything in quotations, so there's that. If you had, then that would tell me, all right, somebody said that, or it's written somewhere in an official document or some kind of message. So then where is that information? Because to me, that's it. What we've learned on Monday from Grassley, and that is the recordings, and well over a dozen recordings that the president of Burisma apparently made. And so my question is, do they still exist? Are they somewhere? Does the FBI believe they exist?
Right.
What happened to those? What was said in those recordings? And then, of course, with the tweet from Luna last week, where does that lead and where did you get that from? And how do you know this? Is that true? Is that accurate? And please talk more about it because that is very important.
No, but I think you made the one of the best points, which is you didn't say it this way, but I think I'm the spirit of what you said. You don't want to be like the Democrats,
right?
You don't want to throw out just hyperbole,
right?
Fine. She said it. There were no quotations. Nothing was in quotes,
right?
But you haven't commented on it. But nobody in the FBI or any other newspaper through source stories has said that that's incorrect.
Right.
So we're trying to get to the truth here. And so when a congresswoman comes out and says something outside of the actual committee, the oversight committee, even though she's on the oversight committee, do you share that same analysis? And is that what you got from the FBI? Because, again, I'm not saying she made it up or she misinterpreted what they said.
Right.
Because neither side, neither the oversight committee, nobody on the oversight committee, or any source story from any of the media that would like to debunk this story has come out and said, no, what she said is false. The FBI is not worried. Or the FBI has not come out and said,
exactly,
we're worried about the informant.
There's just a huge void on this story, on this, and this part of the entire story. And
it's
that's
a huge part.
Well, it's not a small thing.
No.
But that's what I fear in so many ways, that the GOP has something and then they go out and, of course, grab the bullhorn, grab the media and say, this is what I believe is going on and everything else. And they're not. Everything at this point has to be fact-based.
Yes.
If you look at what Comer and Grassley have come out with and what they have seen, and we kind of knew this is where they were going. They want the document to come forward because they've seen the document. Now they want to see what the redactions are in the document. Now we know, according to them. And we asked that.
Now we know one of the redactions.
Yes, or at least one of the redactions, which was key.
Yeah.
Or a very big piece of the puzzle in that it would tell us that the president of Burisma had or has recordings of conversations with the current president.
Yeah, two of President Biden and 15 with Hunter.
Yeah.
Apparently is what the informant has said.
So that's a big deal. And if that's a retraction, then...
And the conversations from the president of Burisma was for insurance.
Right. Yeah. Right. So these are big things. These are all big things.
By the way, should we cash in that policy?
Yeah, right.
If it was basically an insurance contingency, well, is it time that we filed a claim?
Yeah, right.
And that would be my question. If you believe it is, are you going to go to the president to file your insurance claim? The president of Burisma, not the president.
Right.
President Burisma.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's once again, and this was kind of all along our frustration with Comer and Grassley. With as much as we've learned, there still needs to be, they need to lay out everything that they can in a clear, concise, and complete to this point manner.
Actually, he did. We'll do this a little bit later on. He has an op-ed piece from yesterday.
Yeah.
Did Joe Biden sell out America? 4 things you need to know about Democrats' claims.
Well, that's good.
So he's,
but we still have questions on the on the Luna claim and so many other things. So, and maybe it is that they don't have that complete information on the claim by Luna, but you need to address why it was there.
Yeah, she said she got it out of the meeting. Well, he was in the meeting.
Exactly. That's the whole point. She put it on Twitter, then tell us exactly what that means. I mean, it would be there would always be a concern. The whole whistleblower thing is about creating protection from career retaliation. And then if you're at the government level, I'm sure there would be concern for your own safety. But this is a huge claim. Explain it.
866-90 Red Eye.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, yeah, the original thing, before we got sidetracked,
Yeah.
this just, I don't know, I feel like we're dealing with third graders here.
Yeah. All right.
California will fall well short of the power generation required to fuel its electric vehicle mandate, a new report shows, reflecting the seemingly insurmountable hurdles the state faces in its bid to go green. California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom in 2020 unveiled an executive order banning the sale of gas-powered cars in the state by 2035, a policy that brings higher electricity demand as residents ditch the pump for plug-in stations. But the state is nowhere near on track to meet the higher demand, according to the Pacific Research Institute report that monitors the California grid, which found that California will fall more than 21% short of the power generation levels required to support the electric vehicle mandate. As a result, the study says California must rapidly expand its power plants or risk facing acute electricity shortages in the near future. It is clear by any objective measure. Oh, man, I'm telling you, we're dealing with children here.
Yeah, we are.
It is clear that by any objective measure that California is relying more on hope than a workable plan to transition to green power grid, the report says. Remember this when you see Gavin Newsom out there promoting the fact that his state is the greatest.
Yeah.
California policymakers made an enormous mistake in their haste to push technologies that aren't ready. It is past time for the state to reassess its approach for addressing global climate change. Despite California's green energy struggles, the Biden administration has praised the state for its bold green energy policies, with Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm crediting the state for inspiring her to move faster and further toward a green energy transition. If they're committing economic and energy suicide, let us as a nation commit economic, energy, and national security suicide.
Yeah, why not?
Let's all jump off the cliff.
Why not?
California's failure to support an electric vehicle mandate, however, could weaken support for similar policies on the California's failure to support, well, they do have an electric field. They wrote that wrong. California's failure to support the energy needed for an electrical vehicle mandate, however, could weaken support for similar policies on a national level. Newsom's office did not return a request for comment.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's trying to get out. He wants to go to D.C. There are two things right now that are tapping on his shoulder: reparations and the EV mandate. And he wants out. So bad that he went to Fox News. That's how bad he wants out of California.
Next, he'll go to the more conservative network, CNN.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, it's proof. Everybody wants out of California.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, this is when we talk about the idiocy, because we don't, again, I don't like to name call, but sometimes there comes to a point where something is just so massively childish and idiotic and delusional that you have to call it what it is.
Sure.
And when you see what California is doing, and this is, especially with Newsom on Hannity last night, we believe this is his beginning of, okay, if Biden can't do it, I'm running. I'm the next person up. That, he he's a good manager and he knows how to manage. Well, you tell me a good manager of any business that doesn't provide for the proper power to run the business that they're in.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with here, or lives in a delusional state and says, no, I'm going to cut off the electricity because I believe that we can in the next 10 years, that we can provide all the energy we need by doing this. When doing this, which is solar and wind for him, is impossible. And so this, again, came from the Pacific Research Institute, that is the organization that monitors the California grid. Despite, here it is clear by any objective measure that California is relying more on hope than on a workable plan to transition to green power, to a green power grid. The report says California policymakers made an enormous mistake in their haste to push technologies that aren't ready. It is past time for the state to reassess its approach for addressing global climate change. Despite California's green energy struggles, the Biden administration has praised the state for its bold energy policies. California is one of many states that's moved to phase out coal and natural gas plants in favor of green energy, but that push comes with reliability issues. It's like we're dealing with children here.
Yeah.
While fossil fuel plants can be turned on and off at the flip of a switch, green alternatives such as wind and solar rely on favorable weather conditions to operate at full capacity. State and federal officials are thus warning that a majority of Americans could face power blackouts this summer because you elected idiots.
Yeah.
Was that too harsh?
No.
Anybody out there, was that too harsh? I just hope that
No.
wasn't. Okay. Because we've elected idiots.
You moron.
That we could face power blackouts this summer, particularly on warm evenings with little wind. California, meanwhile, has already seen its green power grid strained last year. For example, the state urged electric car drivers to stop charging their vehicles due to inadequate power supplies. In addition to the reliability issues associated with green power, the transition away from coal and gas is massively expensive. California alone must spend a whopping $9.3 billion on power upgrades to support its green transition, the nonprofit that oversees the state's electrical grid said in May. Policymakers should consider that many sources of renewable energy. Okay, I'm going to have to rub my forehead here for a moment because I'm going to get a headache just reading this, because we're dealing with, again, children.
Yeah.
Policymakers should consider that many sources of renewable energy, such as wind and solar, are volatile and erratic and will require significant investments in necessary infrastructure and land that will be very expensive, costs that will ultimately be borne by the ratepayers, the Pacific Research Institute report says. Under my plan and cap and trade, electricity prices would necessarily skyrocket. President Obama, in a moment of truthfulness and honesty, back in February of 2008, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Policymakers should consider that many sources of renewable energy suck. I just decided to shorten it there.
Selective editing.
And will have to be borne by the idiot voters who put these idiots into office, the Pacific East Research Institute reports, with editing from Gary McNamara.
Exactly.
Upgrading the power grid for an all-renewable energy future will require a scale comparable to a World War II level of mobilization, which will not be achievable given current regulatory hurdles. Those challenges have not stopped the Biden administration from pushing green power grids. President Joe Biden's Environmental Protection Agency in May unveiled a plan that requires coal and natural gas power plants to slash their carbon emission by 90% between 2035 and 2040. The unfeasible regulations are expected to force all those plants to shut down. rather than pay any compliance cost.
Right. Yeah.
California's electrical vehicle mandate also flies in the face of consumer preference. Less than 1/5 of Americans say they're very likely to make the next vehicle an electric one. An April Associated Press poll found with skeptical respondents citing the high cost associated with the cars. Electric vehicles on average cost $10,000 more than their gas-powered counterparts, and that's after all the subsidies that are involved in them. But the fact is, it's impossible to do, as we have said. It's impossible.
Yeah, it just simply isn't going to happen. And you know, the time that and it wasn't long after the mandate was announced, the governor says, well, okay, this afternoon, everybody needs to not charge their car.
Oh, my God, remember that last year?
And then he had to scramble and go and buy energy from another source and come back later that day and say, oh, it's okay. Can you imagine? I mean, you show up at a charging station. And it's, well, sorry, we're shut down until 6 p.m. All of it by choice.
Yeah.
All of this is by choice.
By choice, yeah.
Well, I can't get to work. Are you quiet quitting? No, I just can't charge my car. That sounds like quiet quitting. No, I'm trying to get there.
It's no longer the dog ate my homework.
Right.
I can't start the car.
Yeah.
Oh, EV? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but that's going to be the thing is that I would call Uber, but, they're all EVs.
They're all EVs now.
All those guys are in line behind me. I can't, what are you going to do?
Well, then catch the bus.
Yeah, catch the bus.
No, they're all EVs.
EVs. Yeah.
They're not running.
Long.
They're not running either.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then the train. Oh,
right.
no, they're electric too.
Yeah.
That's
all EVs.
Well, you can always walk.
Yeah, you can walk. Now I am quiet quitting. There won't be any of that. No, but think about this. We talked about the very serious ramifications and the effects on lower and middle income families, and the left is always screaming. The conservatives and Republicans want to limit access to low and middle income families. They don't want. It's really difficult for them to get around. Remember the whole thing on voting in person.
Yeah.
And now they're making it even harder, much harder by then. What do you think is going to be it's not that the mandate says everybody has to drive an EV. It's what that mandate on the sales of only new vehicles can only be EVs, what that is going to do to the cost of used vehicles that are not EVs. What do you think is going to happen to that 1991 Honda Civic?
By the way, that's the reason they really want ballot harvesting is nobody can get out of their homes. They pick up one car, picks up all the ballots.
That's going to be
takes it in because
right.
Well, we need to have ballot harvesting.
Okay, we can't get there.
Nobody has cars.
We can't get there.
Yeah,
Just click a like button on Facebook or somewhere. We'll get your vote somehow. We'll know how you voted. We'll fix it in post-production.
I
mean seriously, the cost of a used vehicle. I don't think there's any way to predict how high those costs will go because the demand for used vehicles in California is going to skyrocket.
Now, first off, this is going to sound unbelievable to begin with, but I was at a party a couple of Saturdays ago, socializing.
Were other people there?
Yes, other people were there, and younger people.
Really?
People. Yes.
It's creepy to go to Chuck E. Cheese by yourself when you're your age. You know that. I've told you about this.
No, it was my unofficial granddaughter's birthday.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes,
that's right.
And so
you had a reason to be at Chuck E. Cheese by yourself.
So my unofficial daughter.
Yeah.
It was her daughter's birthday. So
very nice.
They're all young people, mostly probably in their 20s, probably from 25 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest conversations there, looking for a new car.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Buying a new car.
Ooh.
And
I've been there
and her-
with my wife lately.
And
yeah.
her husband,
Yeah.
I was talking to her husband, and he was stating, he says, he said, I may not, from what I can see right now, I may never buy new again.
Right.
And he's a mechanic, and he's an excellent mechanic, has his own shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he figured, he said, well, my wife asked me, she said, well, you get the used car, where's the warranty? And he said, I am.
Right.
He's a mechanic.
He's a mechanic.
And he can put, he does real heavy work. He'll
Right.
replace engines and do everything.
Right.
And he said, actually, that's our best choice right now. And I said, well, yeah, because you're the best warranty because there's no labor charge.
Right, exactly.
for what you got to do.
Which is a huge
And I said, you get a lot of stuff at wholesale, too. And he goes,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yep,
Wholesale and
Right.
labor.
Right. Well, that's it. I mean,
wow.
I bought a brand new vehicle for the first time in 30 years, a couple of years ago, and I always bought used. And my wife was shopping for hers recently, and she ended up getting a good deal because she works for a company that owns dealerships, and we were going to buy new, and then we found this great deal, and it was mainly because of her. I mean, it's a great car, but it's mainly because of her discount that she gets as an employee. And so we found it was perfect. But I thought to myself during that process, what are people going through? Now, this particular dealership that we went to is actually a luxury dealership. And the finance guy was telling me a lot of their clientele come in and they lease vehicles. And so because they're very busy, they don't, they'll just lease a vehicle, and every 2 years they turn it over and get a new one, which is, one way to do it. We've always been purchase people. I don't lease vehicles, I purchase. But then I'm thinking, all right, where is the market for the middle class, lower middle class individual? Now, right now in our area, at least just anecdotally, there were some really good deals on some used cars. I don't know that that's going to last. I don't know how long it will last. But on the new vehicle front, the costs have gone through the roof. I mean, inflation has hit hard.
Best thing I ever did was keep because it just turned 20-year-old. My second vehicle that I use turned 20 years old, 241,000 miles.
Yeah.
And
nice backup.
And it's a great backup, and it runs fine. And
Yeah.
I probably, when I decided to keep it 6 years ago, probably total put in about $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah.
But I've had think about that. What it
Yeah,
would
but
cost me to have a
that's
it's
nothing.
Right.
Over time. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This has really come to the forefront in the last couple of days. Another story.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal. Hotel owners start to write off San Francisco as business nosedives. It started out with that the one hotel, then the two hotels, then more listed here in this article, and then the mall.
Yeah.
They're just sorry, we're just not going to do business anymore. And it's like,
and they're walking away from commercial loans too. This is something that you're going to see. There was another analyst that was out. I believe it was yesterday. Could have been Friday. That was talking about the big glut on the market that there's going to be of commercial real estate properties, and right now what's going on. And we knew some of that was going to happen post-COVID. But the problem is that now you see major cities where people don't feel safe. They want to leave. And cities like San Francisco are at the top right there, where companies are saying, all right, our employees don't feel safe. Our customers don't feel safe coming down here. We don't have any reason to stay. We're even willing to walk away from commercial loans and get out of this because it just simply is not going to be a good investment long term.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.